It's Vegas. It's rock. It's dogs. It's Vegas Rock Dog Radio. A rock and roll show all about pets, people, and pop culture. Stand by for great guests and cool advice. All in one rockin' hour. The phone lines are open at 702-483-4444. That's 702-483-4444. Now, let's bring on the host. Here is the rock and roll queen of dogs, Sam.
Good morning, everyone. Wow, it's been a double dose this week. Did you know I came in this week, Chris, and did another show? Oh, you see, I did something behind your back without you knowing. You're listening to Vegas Rock Dog Radio, a rock and roll show all about pets, people, and pop culture. And yeah, this is my second live show this week. I came in to do a pre-recorded show. They let me go live, which was really great. And that was with Jim Nelson from Tripods. And you know, sometimes it's hard to figure out with my accent when I say that. Tripods, www.tripods.com. And they specialize in your furry family members who have 3 limbs. Amazing, amazing organization. Happen to be in town because they're professional RVers. That's all they do is travel around. That's all they do. But they, not just all they do, they obviously help animals and they're a great resource website. So that was my live show on Tuesday. It's really, really exciting. We're going to replay that one on June the 7th because on June the 6th, I'm going out to celebrate my birthday. So I might have a hard time getting up the next day. So I'm going to replay that as my I have a birthday week, so it's all about celebrating for the week. So this week's show is going to be really interesting, and I did put some tissues in my bag, and you may do also, but don't switch off because it's also happy to, you know, it's all about the human and animal bond. So before we get started, as a lot of you know, I'm known as the queen of rock and roll dogs. So this is how you're going to find me in the show all over the internet. Our main website is vegasrockdogradio.com. Our Ustream, and we are streaming live. We're going to give you a little wave. There we go. Oh, we have a special guest in the studio. Oh, so excited. Oh, she's waving. Lexi's waving. You need to go to Ustream right now. Ustream.tv. And you're going to find our profile, which is Vegas Rock Dog. And then there are 2 channels. And the one you want to select for today is Vegas Rock Dog Radio. And yeah, we're looking good. I wish you had, I just said this before, I wish you had Instagram filters on Ustream. You know, that warm you up, give it a little bit more saturation, more color, you know, a little haze. Smooth everything out. So that's Ustream.tv and find our channel Vegas Rock Dog Radio. Facebook is Vegas Rock Dog Radio. I'm posting pics of the most beautiful little girl that I've got in the studio today, Lexi, as we go along. Twitter is Vegas Rock Dog Show, no W on the end, just SHO. The call-in number, if you want to call in, is 702-483-4444. That means we're in Vegas if it's a 702. What's the other exchange now? We've got a new one, haven't we? 70
690 or something.
Is that what it is? Oh, why they do that? Because it really messes up your contacts. Now you have to put all the digits in, so I'm having to redo. That's wrong.
It's going to take you a while.
Yeah, maybe I just won't bother doing it. There you go. And we are live, and we're live from vegasallnetradio.com, and you can find my show there also. So you can listen either through the website, or you can actually download one of our apps, because we've got a Droid app now, and we have an Apple app. So you'll be able to listen on the fly, sometimes a little bit easier than trying to listen through the website. Instagram, Vegas Rock Dog, and we still have our contest going on, our My Dog Rocks contest. Upload a photograph of your dog, tag us, Vegas Rock Dog, hashtag us, Vegas Rock Dog, hashtag us, My Dog Rocks. And we'll be picking a winner May 31st and announcing on June the 1st, and what you get is some fantastic Vegas Rock Dog clothing. Rock and roll clothing for you and your hip dog. And that address is vegasrockdog.com. And the last of all is, and I've been really on a roll with my blog recently, is the rockandrolldog.com. And that's where I do giveaways, product reviews, news, sometimes just a cute photograph of my dogs. No words are necessary. Actually, Wednesday's called Wordless Wednesdays in the blog world, and all we do is post pictures, and it's really easy to do a blog post that way. So let me tell you a little bit about my guest. Oh, this is so exciting. And I followed this story. It was like a series on TV, you know, like a cliffhanger. There were a lot of cliffhangers going on, and some crazy stuff that happened during one of these stories.
There's even more we'll talk about today.
Oh, yeah, we've got a lot to talk about. Let me pull your mic up here so we can hear you there, Steve. So, my guest today has a life story that will no doubt prove that the human-animal bond is one that is unique and very, very strong. And I want to welcome to the show Steve Cooper and Lexi Cooper. Oh, my gosh. Pronounce your name for me again. Grania. And Grania. We're going to pull her on the mic. Do you know which one should she take, Chris? The end one? She didn't think she was going to be on the radio this morning, and we're throwing her on the radio. Pull it real close to your mouth. There you go. Good morning, Grania.
You want your microphone too, Lexi? Here
Yeah,
Get your own microphone.
We've got DJ Lexi in the studio today.
It a little bit.
She's going to spin some tunes. What kind of music does she like, Steve?
So, she loves rap. Snoop Dogg's her favorite, obviously.
She needs a ball cap backwards, name on it.
Well, and she also loves Imagine Dragons.
Oh, our hometown heroes right now.
Heroes. And then I can tell you this as well. She loves Fox News.
So do I.
So I put it on CNN every
Don't hold
morning.
it against me and Lexi, please.
But she actually changes it to Fox News when I leave. So she's my little Republican.
She's fantastic. She's so adorable, this dog. Honestly, I can't stand how cute she is. And I said, I think my bag's big enough to put her in my bag and steal her away from the show. So welcome to the show, Grania and Steve and Lexi. How are you?
We're great. Thank you for having us, Sam.
Oh, my gosh. And let me tell you something now, and I say every week, because everything's always interesting to me. It's probably going to go so fast, this show, that we could probably do a 2-hour. But basically, we're going to do it in 2 parts. And we're going to talk about, first of all, how did Lexi come into your life?
Yeah, absolutely. As you mentioned earlier, if it gets boring, you can just go to commercial, and then we'll take off. But no, great question, and I appreciate that. So let's see. It was after I was diagnosed with cancer. And then, as you can imagine, that is a life-changing event.
Oh, my gosh. What do you think when you first get diagnosed with cancer? What's the first thing that just comes through your head?
Well, the first thing that comes through your mind is the 4-letter word that I can't say on radio, right?
Oh, so yeah.
After you get past that, it really is a shock, especially when you're that young. I was 40 years old when I was diagnosed.
That is young.
Yeah, so that was difficult. And then I think it's also... there's a lot of, obviously, disbelief, right? That this is really happening to me.
How is this happening to me?
Yeah, it's like when you've been in a traffic crash. You don't really realize till afterwards.
Yes,
you're in a crash,
the
right?
impact, of what happened to you, yeah.
Yeah, that's the first thing. But then afterwards, I think it's, and then you get to the next phase, which is what is my plan to battle this cancer? Mm-hmm. But then the part that I think is really magical is after you decided, here's my treatment plan. To me, at that point in my life, I never thought about the fact that I will die. Mm-hmm. I mean, we all are going to terminate. But I think when you're young, you're invincible. I was in the military. I was in law enforcement.
You're in shape.
So I was in shape, a business owner. I just thought I was invincible, probably like every other person out there.
Yeah, I think it's also a good way to think, though, that you're invincible.
It is. Because
it kind of moves you forward.
It sure does. But then also, I think the beauty in any type of terminal diagnosis or life-threatening diagnosis is that, okay, now I know that my life does have an end date. Now, it may not be next week, may not be next year,
right,
but there is an end date. And then what that does is makes you realize that every moment moving forward is special.
Yeah.
And so the saying, when people talk about stop and smell the roses, I think had no meaning in my life until after I was diagnosed.
Until that point.
Yeah.
I would agree with you on that. I think it probably takes on a much more deeper meaning. Everything you choose to do from that point forward. And did you choose to do different things because of that?
Well, I sure did. So one of those was adopting a dog.
Oh,
doing the rescue. Yeah, and so I had realized that, I think my priorities in life are backwards. So I was hyper-focused on building my businesses, making more money. And you get to the point where you realize how many houses do you really need, how many cars do you need. Mm-hmm. And I always said I can build a family later. And, I don't have many regrets in life, but I think that was a mistake I had made.
Right.
Was that I focused, on things that were not that important. Then I wake up after being diagnosed going, oh, crap. I'm single, my life has an expiration date, and I have no immediate family in my life.
And I have to do something. And I'm going to do something,
right,
obviously. Wow, that's quite... Now, were you not feeling well when you got the diagnosis? Was it like, something's off here, I don't understand what's going on?
Yeah, I've been having stomach problems for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. Well, actually about 5 years total, but very serious stomach problems the 2 years prior to diagnosis. And so that's what had led me to go seek medical care and eventually receive that diagnosis.
Whoa. What diagnosis was it? How severe was it?
Yeah, so it was bad. It was a stage 4 prostate cancer that had metastasis to my lymph node.
Good Lord.
So it's,
wow.
in many respects, it's a death sentence. I was given, less than a year to live, most likely, by the first doctor I saw, and been in, practicing medicine for 50-some years. And then, I could live possibly a year longer on chemotherapy. So that was almost 2 years ago. So I think that shows the positive attitude plus the great medical
I was going to ask you about that because I think I've always been a positive person. I always believe things will turn out the right way or this will happen. And it's funny because you think most people would adopt that attitude when they've got cancer diagnosis, but not everyone does. So, I do think it is something that really, really helps,
Yeah, I hate to say it, Sam, but you're absolutely right, and it breaks my heart that I've had a hard time accepting that I'm a little different and unique. What we'll talk about in my story and how I fought through this cancer, I assumed is how everyone else would handle it, like you said.
Yeah.
But when I find out is that's not true, too many people give up, and that's what breaks my heart.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it myself, and you often wonder, why is that person with lung cancer still smoking, or why wouldn't you just go to the nth degree to do the right thing, Because here's the thing: when you're positive, you are happier. It's as simple as that. It's really simple, and I think you choose to be positive and you choose to be happy, and it's definitely a within thing. It's not an external thing. Do you know what I mean? It's like I'm choosing to do this. So sometimes you get people that just bear a grudge or they hold on to something. You go, when are you going to decide to stop that? When are you going to decide to be done with it? Because when you decide you're done with it, you feel a lot better. And it's true.
It's so true. And if I go back a minute ago to what you asked about how the diagnosis changed my life. And so one thing I did was, as I mentioned, I reprioritized, what mattered in life and what did not. And so business no longer had that meaning that I had before. Making money was no longer paramount, but what was love and family. And so, unfortunately, I don't have the looks of Tom Cruise, so finding a girlfriend overnight was not going to happen, right? And so I did realize if I wanted love sooner, it was to rescue a dog.
Oh, my gosh.
And then, but out of that actually did come love, which was pretty special. So what happened was I had started looking for an animal to rescue shortly, I want to say 4 months after being diagnosed, so last summer.
So you moved pretty fast then, didn't you? Once you kind of got over the initial, whoa, this is what I have to do now, I've got a plan going. Right. So where did you...
But also my surgery, too, because the surgery went very well in January of 2013.
Right.
And so then as I got healthier and then moved forward, so in the summer of 2013, that's when I decided, let me rescue. And so what happened was I was going to different shelters, different pet stores that had rescue events as well in Phoenix. And I actually went into a store, and I met a nice lady that was helping me find a dog. And that's one thing I really want to share is I think a lot of people don't spend enough time in that process to find a dog.
Take your time.
So I literally came back every weekend to see Lexi because, as you can tell, her demeanor is absolutely incredible, right?
I mean, this is the dog you want to cuddle up with and just be with. She's just easygoing.
She is. She's, 2 going on 80, and it's amazing because...
She's got it all for you.
And she's so distinguished, and I love that. But what happened was I went back every weekend to make sure that her temperament was still the same. Right, given a different time of day, a different weekend.
Yeah, because I think, this is probably the best thing you just said, actually, because so many people walk through a shelter and the dog's jumping up or a little bit scared or shaking. That is not the true essence of the dog. That's the dog right that minute in that shelter. And I think taking that time makes a big difference. Especially if was it a no-kill shelter?
It was actually, it was, and it was a very small family-run shelter. But then what happened was, I actually opted to foster her first.
Oh.
So I think that's another. I think it's so important for people to consider fostering for a week.
Yeah.
Because then you really see them in your home environment.
Absolutely.
And so then through that process, I ended up meeting a girl that worked at that store. And she was an amazing woman, and she helped me rescue Lexi. But now what happened was that in that process, I realized that she was really great with people, but also great with Lexi, right? And so I was starting to rebuild my business again. And so my last assistant had left, and so I asked her if she would be willing to work for me as my personal assistant.
Oh, wow.
And that was tough because I needed to find someone that could come and take care of Lexi, but also handle my business.
Yes.
And it's hard to often find people to do both roles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
or even want to,
Right, or even want to, yeah. So we did that, and so I hired her, and the irony was that I had no attraction to her whatsoever.
Right.
We couldn't be more different, right? And so...
I mean, do you think you consciously tried not to have an attraction because she was going to work for you?
Yeah, because I've never crossed that line before.
Right.
And so, I've been honored to lead in the military thousands of soldiers, in the private sector hundreds of employees. Wow. And so that's something I take very seriously.
Yeah.
And so here I was battling, for my life. And then, like I said, the surgery went okay. I'm now ready to rescue the dog. She was the right hire, so I offered her a position. She accepted.
Wow.
But now moving forward, I started radiation because my PSA, which is a measure of prostate cancer, started to rise just gradually.
Okay.
So that was the end of last summer. So that's when I really needed help because I'm going to go through an 8-week treatment protocol, right?
Right.
So I hired her. We're on board. Everything's going well. Lexi's taken care of. And then probably right in the middle of my training, or in the middle of my radiation, I also realized that I want to do an Ironman.
Because that's what people do when they decide they're going to live.
They want to go swim, bike, and run 140 miles, right? It makes a lot of sense, right? And then there was a moment where I looked over and realized that, this girl that I'd hired, who is now helping me, there was a lot more to it because she was one of the angels that came into my life. And I've had 2 angels I know for sure. And one was previously to this, that when I first got diagnosed, she helped train me every day to get me back on track.
Incredible.
And so, but now I had a second angel. And so what I find so amazing is how not only did, Lexi help save my life, but she also helped me realize that I can date again and I can get back into the real world.
Oh,
and that would not have happened without Lexi.
This dog is so precious. She's priceless. Clearly, you know what I mean. She's just priceless. So, what would you say is the biggest thing that at that time that she taught you was, I can move forward, I can live, but I can also add other things into my life and enrich it even more.
Wow. So the biggest thing was she helps me calm down because I'm a little high strung.
We just connected on Facebook, this past week, didn't we? And I'm like, this is someone who likes to live and have a good time, and I love that,
Absolutely.
But you have clearly a lot of energy as well.
A ton of energy. And the irony is I have no testosterone, and that's what's I think really unique about my story is when I was diagnosed, my testosterone was extremely high. So I've been on a chemotherapy drug that stops my testosterone production.
Whoa.
And so that's what I think really is something to share with. There's a lot of men out there looking for, help because they have low testosterone or they don't feel well. And I have a hard time with that because the day prior to Ironman, my testosterone was measured. It was 13. The average testosterone should be 300 to 600.
Oh, my goodness.
Mine was 930 when diagnosed. So, when I hear these excuses for why people can't do things, I get really frustrated.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. You're like, what's your excuse?
Right.
Seriously, what is your excuse for not trying? Or I'm that exact same person. I am that exact same person. I don't know about you, but I can't stand the people that moan on Facebook. And I want to say, it's you. The problem is you. It's so not everybody else. It's you.
And one thing that helps drive, my motivation and my attitude is, are people that have had much more difficult challenges than I've had. So, for example, when I was a young boy, I used to ride my bicycle to school, and I would complain to my father because I had to ride my bike, 6 miles or whatever. And there was a young boy that was pushed to school on a skateboard because I had no arms and no legs. And so you look at that story relative to your own situation, it's hard to complain, right?
It's really hard to complain. It really, really is, because there is always someone in a worse situation, And sometimes they're in a worse country, or they're in a worse, or like you said, they're in the military and they're fighting for their life over there and for your life too, So you never, I think it is always an important lesson to say, well, what are other people dealing with, and how are they coping with it? I mean, you see these people that have no arms and legs, and they're doing amazing things. So, I guess on the grand scheme of things, you're like, I'm doing okay.
It's so true, Sam. And as you allude to, why doesn't everybody have our attitude? And I still don't know why, obviously, but. I look at even my own situation at times, and there's times where I feel down and I'm like, wow, why'd I have to deal with cancer? Now I got to deal with chemotherapy coming up. But, I really believe it starts with your mental attitude. Well,
I think also because I came from an extremely positive family, that I think it's also a learned behavior as well. I think if you've got a family that's everything's a crisis, I think you probably adopt that when this is how we react. When this happens, we act like it's a big crisis and we can't cope and we're debilitated, And I come from a very different family. I always said, hey, if I turn around to my mom and said, hey, mom, I'm going to be a Las Vegas stripper, you know what she would say? Can I help you make your costumes? Or
It'd be the best there is, right?
Do you know what I mean? It would just be like, let's have a go at it.
Watch out, Janet Jameson, right?
Exactly. Don't get any ideas, people. I'm not becoming a stripper. I'm just not.
But you know, one thing I want to share with you, Sam, was when I mentioned I had got received that I'm not diagnosed, but told I was going to start radiation. That's when I sought out to say I need to get in great shape, right?
Yeah.
And so that's
when you get fit to be able to fight.
Yeah, to fight. And so that's when the idea of completing the Ironman came up. And so I was the first person in the world to complete an Ironman during radiation.
Oh,
and
my
so,
gosh.
And the reason why I share that story is not to impress you all, but to impress upon the point that I think it's about the mental attitude, right? So 2 months ago when the doctor here said I should start chemotherapy, my response was, then I'll be the first to do an Ironman during chemotherapy.
Oh, you see, it's just very inspiring.
That's the power, right?
And I know that a lot of people, because of how you are handling everything, are really, really inspired too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess you just don't realize that when you're just in the throes of, I just need to get myself well, you know, how much you are impacting people around you. And it sounds like you've got quite a lot of fans.
Well, I appreciate that. And Sam, it's also, to me, is what's really humbling is the ability, or the quality of people I've been able to inspire. And I'll give you some example. So when I was diagnosed, I sought out some of literally the best medical doctors in the world, some that happen to be in Arizona. And, you know, these are doctors that, you know, top of their school in high school, top of their class in high school. You know, go to schools like University of Chicago and, you know, Cornell and Sloan Kettering. I mean, the best schools in the world, right? Mm-hmm. And, you know, they've been so highly trained in cancer and medicine. And I think at times, though, they still get stuck in their own rut, right?
I would think so. I think with any kind of profession, So
my medical team, you know, after I finished the Ironman, of course, that following Monday, because another thing I did was I rode my bike to and from radiation every day with my friends.
Of course you did.
Of course, right? For 5 miles. How else do you get the radiation,
you're Steve Cooper.
Yeah, you have to do something different. But the medical team after Ironman said, hey, Steve, congratulations. Great job on the Ironman during radiation. What are you going to do now on your last day of radiation? Jump out of an airplane? And I said, that's a great idea. So the first time I went skydiving was the last day of radiation. We then drove to Vegas. We partied all night and did other things. And, you know,
this is fantastic.
And really celebrated life, right?
Have you got video of this? Please tell me a video, at least pictures.
There is video. That video is in a vault behind triple lock because you will see me so terrified. It's insane. That is the dumbest thing on earth, is jumping out of an airplane.
And you lived to tell about it.
It was a blast.
Oh, my God.
I'll never do it again.
Well, they say YOLO. You only live once. I mean, literally, you are taking that literally. Like, I am going to try everything and everything. What can we get Steve to do next, Grania? What do you think we should do? I think he should become a stripper. The first male stripper to work during chemo. I mean, I think it's great.
Well, I do want to make money, and that would not be very profitable, so I think we need to find a different business. But you will laugh at this. I am actually represented, and I'm a brand ambassador for an underwear line.
Are you?
Called Saks. I do need to, I guess, promote that right now.
Oh, my gosh. What's the website?
We actually need to talk about it. This is pretty important.
What's the website?
saxxunderwear.com.
I'm
actually wearing them too as well. For the Saks.
Can you see this on Ustream, people? We're going down that Vegas path, aren't we? We're keeping our theme going.
But this is actually kind of a neat story. I think you and your listeners will appreciate. So, not just for men, but also men that have to deal with any type of urinary incontinence.
Okay.
So what happened was so I actually had been wearing these underwear for a long time.
Right.
I was in Scottsdale walking through a mall, and this guy grabs me and he's like, hey, bro, you got to try on these pair of underwear. And you can imagine when a guy asks you about trying out a pair of underwear,
it's different.
You're like, I think I should sock you in the nose, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's creepy. And he was so pervasive and, you know, good-looking guy, very charismatic. And he's like, listen, if you don't like it, I'll give you a beer. And I'm like, I don't even drink. So this is really going downhill, right?
Yeah, it's going down the tubes.
But he was so good that he convinced me to try on these pair of underwear. And so I tried them. I'm like, okay, this is pretty special. But then, you know, typically, like we talk about the dog, you always wonder if it's going to be different the next day. So I'm like, all right, basically just to shut him up, I bought a pair of those underwear. I go home, I try them on the next day, and I forgot that I'm wearing them. And that was the irony, is I forgot that I was wearing them.
Oh.
Because the reason why they're called Saks is because they have a patented mesh lining that actually keeps things off of your legs. And keeps everything where they belong.
Where they should be.
Right, where they should be.
In their place.
This is like the most revolutionary thing in the history of mankind.
This is like the best show ever, I've got to tell you, ever.
Yeah, this is a great thing. So then I get diagnosed. I'm still wearing my Saks, right, because of the greatest underwear ever. But then after surgery, so my prostate was removed. You can imagine that creates a lot of urinary problems, right?
Right.
So what happens, and men just don't like to talk about this.
Yeah, I can imagine it's not something they want to share.
Well, we need to, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, without information, you don't know how to handle things.
And you wouldn't know about sex.
Right,
if
you
we
wouldn't
weren't
know
talking about it right now.
Exactly.
This is great.
So then what happened is you have to wear a pad or a guard after surgery for weeks or months because you're leaking, right?
Right.
And so here, one of the men's biggest fears when having to wear a pad or guard after surgery of any type is the fear that damn thing's going to fall out of your pants, right?
Right.
Can you imagine if it would look like a tampon falls out of a man's pants?
Right, exactly. It's the last thing you want to see.
That's a non-starter.
Or experience,
right.
yeah.
I can't think of anything's worse.
I
for
bet you
man,
just
right?
want to stay at home.
So that's exactly it. I spoke to so many men that for months don't even leave their house because of that issue.
Oh, that's terrible.
So then so the first day I said, but that's not me, obviously. I can't just lay in bed.
Right.
So I put on my sacks, I take my pad and my guard, and I put it inside of my sacks. Remember, it has that mesh lining, right?
Yeah.
So guess what? The pad cannot fall out.
Oh.
Brilliant, right?
Genius.
Yeah.
Did you buy the company?
So it's actually not a bad idea.
It's a great idea.
I am looking at trying to create an underwear store here on the Strip. And we had to talk about that because that could be a lot of fun.
Oh, my gosh. I think it would be brilliant.
Especially at the link.
I love the link.
Right.
I love that. I think
Right next to the hat store, actually.
Oh, I love hats. I'm a hat
Right.
person. Yeah, I went in the store too. It's like, oh.
So we talked about the utility of the underwear, right?
Yeah.
But the great thing is that they're great looking.
Yeah.
And so I think about, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry is attractive undergarments for women.
Yeah.
But why don't we now have more things other than the traditional white skivvy for men?
Yes,
it's time,
there's
right?
not a lot of choice. There really isn't.
There's not.
I buy the Evolve underwear for my husband. In fact, the ones that he's wearing today, I'm not kidding, I think of burgers and fries on them. But they're cool. They've got the lycra in them,
Right.
they're hip, they're a little bit something like David Beckham would wear,
Yeah, these are way hip.
You see that? And I think that's what...
See, these ones are actually camouflage. I'm showing my underwear. This is great.
What are you hiding with that camouflage? I think it's a brilliant... I love it when there's like a discovery where you, oh my gosh, this is going to work and solve a problem. They're always the best products though, aren't they, that solve a problem?
Absolutely. Well, and to your point, I mean, as an entrepreneur, you should start a business to solve a problem.
Yes.
And that's the beauty in Saks is they truly started a business to solve a problem for men to not do that leg lift in public.
Yeah, it's not attractive. Well, listen, let's take a quick break.
You met your match, Sam.
While we take some pictures of Steve's underpants on the break.
We're leaving, Grania.
She's like, oh my gosh, what show did I show up? I thought it was a show about dogs. But we're going to be right back.
Right.
You're listening to Vegas Rock Dog Radio.
Say bye, everybody.
Say hi.
Say hi.
We'll be right back. Listen to some words from our sponsors.
Welcome to Barking Dogs Self-Wash and Grooming, your one-stop shop for all of your pets' needs. We offer premium natural pet foods, full-service grooming, and an on-site bakery and boutique. You can choose to self-wash your dog or schedule a luxury pampering with our professional groomers. Our new Cool Cats section offers feline foods, toys, bedding, and litter, while the adventurous dog department has everything you need for your outdoor activities. Cody's Healing Garden is a special section featuring flower, aromatherapy, and herbal remedies for pets, and let's not forget our on-site fresh bakery. Ask us about Karma Connection, our program that supports animal rescue. Find us at www.barkingdogslv.com and look for us on Facebook and Twitter. We look forward to seeing you in our neighborhood.
Hi, this is Leilani, president of the Las Vegas Hot Diggity Dachshund Club and Rescue. We're a member-based social club and a nonprofit dachshund rescue. We participate in many community events throughout the year, as well as rescue homeless dachshunds. For more information on our club, adopting a dachshund, fostering, or to donate to our rescue, visit our website at www.lvhdcr.com. That's lvhdcr.com. You can also find us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. We are the Las Vegas Hot Diggity Dachshund Club and Rescue, where we're saving the world one wiener at a time.
Are you looking for up-to-date information on local Las Vegas rescues and pet events? Well, look no further. Las Vegas Pet Scene magazine has that and so much more. Las Vegas Pet Scene magazine is a free, bi-monthly magazine that can be found in over 220 valley-wide locations, including your local pet stores, Albertsons, neighborhood Walmarts, veterinarians, libraries, plus many more locations. The magazine features informational articles on all types of animals, as well as offering valuable coupons and specials on pet products and services. You can also find them online in digital format at lvpetscene.com or check them out on Facebook at Las Vegas Pet Scene.
Dogs ID Tagged, the happening place for hand-stamped ID tags for your pets. All pet tags are custom-made in gorgeous metals like brass and copper. Not only are they beautiful, they're also essential to identifying your pet. You can shop at our website, dogsidtagged.com, and treat your pet to a unique tag of its own. Dogs ID Tagged, the happening place for pet tags. Visit dogsidtagged.com. Now, let's return to Vegas Rock Dog Radio. Here again, your host, the rock and roll queen of dogs, Sam.
Okay, we're right back. You listen to Vegas Rock Dog Radio with me, Sam, your host, the queen of rock and roll dogs. My fabulous guests today are Steve Cooper, Lexi Cooper, and Grania. And we were just talking. Yeah, she's so cute on the mic. She is such a pretty girl. It's ridiculous. But she's how much does she weigh? She's not huge.
So she's 29 pounds, and
she's perfect.
Yeah, Sam. When she was lost, she lost almost 9 pounds in the desert.
Which is, I mean, and how many days was that? Because we're going to talk about this whole story.
She was lost for over 6 days.
I followed the story. It was just scary, and this is where we're going to go. And so at this point, Lexi's part of Steve now. It's as simple as that. And she's been going through treatments and diagnosis and all this good stuff. Not good stuff, but bad stuff. But she's good because she was there. But then this story came across my Facebook page here in town, and she's missing. So how did she get loose from you, Steve? And where were you?
Yeah, this is tough. So I had just finished radiation, like I mentioned. I had completed the Ironman during, week 7 of radiation. Week 8 came by, finished that. I went skydiving, came to Vegas. I had the best time, of my life during radiation. And then decided that, well, actually, if I step back for a year, I actually came to Vegas well over a year prior, thinking about just ending everything because I was just diagnosed and I didn't want people to take care of me, right? And it was such a terrible diagnosis I was given. And the irony was that the time I was here with friends and we celebrated for that week, I actually had the best time of my life as well. And I realized, why would I want to die? Because I love this city, right?
Something so great I love, yeah.
And one thing I love to share with people is that I started coming back to Vegas almost every 2 or 3 weeks during all of my treatment to get the energy and that vibe,
It's an exciting town.
It's the greatest city on earth.
It really is,
So then when I finished radiation, there was a point in my life where I had really lightened up a lot of things. I had let go of certain investments and business plans and other things I was involved in and thought, okay, now's the time to really simplify, find out what really matters, which is family, of course. I had Lexi, and then I was dating a girl, and everything was wonderful. And I thought, well, you know what? I love Vegas. Also, my business brings me here a lot.
Okay.
So I thought, what about relocating to an amazing city? And then plus the training I do, the Red Rock, I thought on the west side was beautiful.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So it was everything, the pieces were here. So I decided then, it was my birthday on December 29th. As I mentioned, I just finished radiation, skydiving, technically maybe cancer-free. We're moving on to the next chapter in life. My girlfriend and Lexi and I drove to Las Vegas on my birthday, December 29th of last year.
Okay.
And we had a dog sitter, and you will love this. And my dog sitter also watched Ice and Coco's dogs.
Oh, yep.
Also, Coco's dad used to work for me in one of my companies.
Oh.
And so that's how I was kind of connected.
It's all very connected,
to the family. So this lady had watched Lexi on several occasions. My girlfriend and I came into town on the 29th. We dropped off Lexi with her. She had watched her many times. I had no concerns. The next day, I ended up breaking up with my girlfriend, actually that night.
Oh.
So the next morning, I sent her back to Phoenix. And the next day, I get a call that Lexi's missing.
Oh, my.
So imagine, I just been through a battle of surgery, radiation, the biggest battle in my life. I finally reestablished priorities, built a small family, though we were odd and different. It was our family.
Yeah.
And now the 2 people in my family were gone.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, and I've really never talked about that publicly. And that was hard because you can imagine if you have a small family and you not only is one, but both those people in a matter of 24 hours, it's too much, right?
Unbelievable.
So thank God I had, the best military training, you can imagine after an 18-year career.
Yeah.
And so really went back into, soldier mode. And
soldier mode, wow.
It was really, let's create, a command center. Let's look at, resources and have some kind of, media campaign and really leverage a lot of things we use in the military to complete missions, right?
Wow.
And so, and it was near the M Hotel where Lexi was lost. And so, you're so adorable.
She is. I can't stand her.
Yeah.
She's too cute
She's
for
too
me.
cute, right?
I swear, she really is.
So one of the,
Don't you just have a connection? You're like, oh,
she's one of them. And so one of the first things I did was I had a friend go down to the Home Depot and I hired, I think about 22 employees. And so
my mouth just dropped wide open.
Yeah, I had to have a staff, right? I needed people out there constantly searching. And so that was the phase 1. Also phase 2 was having the media through friends come out and cover the story, because here it was, battling cancer.
Yes.
And it worked for the media, came to celebrate and then lost my dog in the desert. But also I think the important part was I was not leaving that desert till I found Lexi.
It was your only option, wasn't it? I'm
right.
finding her. There's no option. I'll just be out there until she comes home.
Absolutely. So when I got that call, I was, one of the top floors at the Encore. I mean, I was shaking. My friend gave me the message. I dropped the phone, dropped to my knees.
Oh.
My heart was broken. And then I gathered all the stuff I could, all the water, all the towels, things I needed to survive for a week in the desert. And I put in my Hummer and drove out to that place where she was last seen.
Right.
And I think to anyone that's listening in terms of how do you find a dog or an animal, I think you should always go to where the dog was last seen.
Yes, I agree with you entirely on that. What kind of stuff did you take down there with you?
Sure.
You camped out, correct?
I did, yeah. So I took everything I could. And so, you know how they've got the snack tray in the hotel?
Yeah.
I just took everything and threw it in a pillowcase, right?
Wow. So were you staying in the hotel?
I was staying at the Encore.
So it's not like you're at home, you can grab a
Right.
bunch of stuff from home. You're just like, whatever I've got, I'm taking.
Yeah, whatever I got, I'm taking. So it was, there was some snacks, water, towels. I had some sunscreen, thank goodness, and then the clothes I needed to live for a week. Put that in my truck and drove right to where she was last seen. And that's also in law enforcement. When you want to do a search, you go to where the person was last seen,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
And that's where you establish your base of operation. So I did that. I drove out there immediately. And some things that were really concerning was that Lexi had actually been missing for over 12 hours before I was notified.
Oh, my gosh.
And so,
why'd you think you went?
It's tough. The sitter obviously knew how much Lexi meant to me. I know her and her friends have been looking for a day.
So she was probably trying to find her
Right.
before.
It's still the wrong answer, though, right? I should be notified immediately within minutes, because they say in law enforcement you have a golden 24 hours to solve a murder.
That's right.
I think with a missing animal you have a golden hour because they're so fast, right?
Well, they're so fast, and I think because of where we are with the desert, and
Right.
we've got lots of predators. The coyotes are certainly bigger than her, because they're bigger than her that I see on my street.
Absolutely.
You don't know what they're going to come up against, and it's vast.
It's huge.
Once you get beyond the M, oh my gosh! And then you've got the highway right there too.
That's another concern. And so then, thankfully, the media came out immediately and started doing stories, as you mentioned, almost daily, if not daily. And so through that, we got a lot of volunteer support. My girlfriend, again, we had broke up. She flew back to Phoenix. She helped me rescue Lexi. So she's attached to her as much as I was, or I am. So she immediately flew back here to help us. And so, and this is an important part of the story, as we'll get to in a minute. So she came back. We started searching. The media exposure was great. We had a lot more volunteers.
Yeah.
We were having tens of volunteers every few hours. That's how I met Grania and her boyfriend Corey.
Wow.
They came out to help us search as well. We had people on horseback, ATV. I had hired aerial support. Helicopters came out. The search and
I
rescue
am getting
team.
chills just listening to this, because this is a movie. Seriously, Steve, this is a movie.
It was a lot because, as I mentioned, she not only helped me get through cancer, but she was a bond through a special relationship I had.
Yeah.
But also, she's, as my friends say, love of my life. And so, no matter what, even if I knew that she was dead, I had to
You'd find her. Yeah, because it's how you would honor her. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So you've got, in total, how many people should you think helped you?
Over 200.
Wow, my gosh, that's unbelievable.
It was pretty special. And so let's fast forward, I guess, 4 or 5 days. Well, and also, I was, the only time I went to the restroom was when I was filling up my Hummer with gas. And so, I just had to keep going. I would grab a sandwich, at the gas station. But when that pump stopped pumping gas, I was back out there.
Back. You're my hero. I got to tell you this right now, Steve. You're absolutely my hero. I could just bawl my eyeballs out.
I mean, it was hard, you know. I crashed the truck twice.
Did you?
I backed into a car, you know, and I mean,
Look, I can't imagine you're really focused on much aside from this is my mission, this is what I'm doing, you know.
Plus, I hadn't slept for over 4 days.
Wow.
And, you know, technically the car, I think, actually turned into me, but it didn't matter. The gentleman was so nice. He was an immigrant from Mexico, and, you know, he was apologizing to me, and I was like, this is ridiculous that you would apologize to me. So I took his information. When things got settled afterwards, you know, I asked him what the estimate was. He told me, and I sent him a check, and he was on the phone in tears crying, you know, because he thought he was going to go to jail. I'm like, listen, I don't care, you know.
Oh, my gosh, there's so many... Oh my God! This story. Seriously, you do need to make a movie, Steve. I'm serious. Forget the book. Bypass the book completely. This is like there's so many arms to this, so many tentacles to this. You know. Oh my gosh! So now, what was it 6 days? Did you say she was missing?
Yeah, it was 6 days, 7 nights, and so if we go to the end. Like I mentioned, I've been up probably now 5-6 days at this point. Slept for a couple hours here and there when I would literally fall asleep. And this was a hard night. It was a Sunday night. I'll never forget. We got, and I want to say too that Bryce and Jen, absolutely. I got to tell you, there's a lot of people, in my opinion, that are out there in the nonprofit world, and if I narrow it down to the animal nonprofit world, that are just full of crap.
Yeah,
I mean, I got to tell you, Bryce and Jen are as authentic as they come.
Mean it.
So
they mean it and they do it.
Yeah,
when they say they're doing it, they're doing it. Yeah,
they were out there every day helping us, posting flyers.
And that's how I got to know your story. Exactly. And then I mentioned her being lost on the radio show. I was like, well, what can I do? I've got quite a big audience, you know. And it was just everybody on tender hooks, just like, and he knew you, and he knew you. And then they thought they'd seen a dog. Well, they had seen it.
This was heartbreaking. So Sunday night, so we even retained a canine unit that specializes in finding animals, right? So the canine unit was there. They were operating that night. They were confident. So there was a fenced-off area inside of the open desert, 8-mile radius where Lexi was missing. And the canine unit was confident Sunday night they saw her. And that area was only about 200 yards from where she was lost.
So that made
people
sense
wanted
to
me
you.
Right. People wanted me to keep going, changing my location of search, and I wouldn't do it because I knew that she wouldn't go far away.
Yeah, she'd come back too.
Yeah. She'd come back. So I had left, my socks out there.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. I also took her leash and put it in a heart shape with rocks in it because, I knew that she would come back to that. Yeah. And sure enough, and I was right, she came back to that location Sunday night.
That's unreal.
However, when the gentleman, the canine handler, and his wife approached her, she took off. And so he called us immediately. We went right back to that spot, my girlfriend and I at the time, and we stayed there all night. We turned our cell phones off because we didn't want to scare Lexi.
Yeah.
And so this was probably about 9 o'clock at night. So the entire night, Bryce and Jen and others get a lead that there's a small black lab with a white piece on her chest that looks like Lexi near UNLV. And
that's a long way off from the original.
And you know that what happened. Yeah. So there was literally hundreds of people that then were shifted to that area to find this dog. And then they found the dog who was hit by a car. And then the dog ended up in the hospital, right?
And didn't the woman with the truck, someone held her up with a gun or something?
Yeah, there was a whole crime involved. It was hideous. This is where, to your point about a movie, there's a movie there, right?
There's a movie
in
there.
It's too much. So then, let's see.
So you have no cell phone communication once you've turned them off.
So
okay.
7 o'clock in the morning, we just look down. One of us look at our phone, and remember our phones are off. And I remember turning my phone on and seeing like 126 missed calls, literally 126, and like 300 emails and text messages. And our Facebook had erupted because everyone that night thought they saw Lexi.
Right.
And so what we did was realize there was too many messages to go through. Let's start at the bottom. And the very bottom said, well, we think we found Lexi, and then we skipped to another message, and it said she was hit by a car, she's in the hospital, and you can imagine that was the lowest point in my life, right? Because I'm like, my damn phone was off because I turned it off, right?
Yeah.
And then the next message is, it's not her. So then it's good, but it's bad, right?
You're down, and
And I had been up at that point for well over 6 days, and I was done. And so not forever, but I needed a break, right? So then I said, let's go get a room at the M. We'll create a new center there. And I asked the manager for a room overlooking the area she was lost. And I said to the manager, I want a room that I can stay for as long as possible. If that means 6 weeks or 6 years, I'm not leaving here. If I have to buy the room, I'll buy the room. It just doesn't matter. I'm not leaving here. And I wanted a room right to oversee where she was lost. And so we got the room, and it was unreserved. We could stay as long as we wanted. But the management, I got to say as well, the management team, even though I'm an encore and win, number one customer.
Of them, yeah.
The M Resort and the staff there are absolutely incredible.
Oh.
So we got the room, and then I said, I'm going to go use the restroom. I'm going to get a couple hours sleep, and we'll go get back at it.
Yeah.
We got a text message from a lady named Camille, and she said, I think I found Lexi. I've seen your story. And then she sent the picture, and it was a small little dog on a doorstep, and it had a large white patch. She doesn't have a large white patch.
It's quite skinny, isn't it?
Right, and she has more of a streak than a patch, right? And so I didn't think this was Lexi. And so I told my girlfriend, I said, we've had over 100 leads this week, right? Literally, we were going all over the place.
That's a lot.
I said, let me get some rest, get some food, and then we'll go in a few hours to that location, right? And she said, absolutely not. I think this is Lexi. And I've learned years ago, any girl I date's always smarter than me. Right? Hands down.
Steve's very smart.
Right, yeah, absolutely. So, and I tell you, I wasn't happy, not happy at all. And I was delirious and exhausted. And so I said, I'll go, but you have to drive, because I'm in a really crash now after this. And this is like 8 miles away in Henderson.
So it was close.
Yeah, but still far, right?
8 miles, yeah.
8 miles. And so we pulled up, and I'll never forget this as long as I live. So she stood up, and Lexi always shakes her head like this when she walks.
Oh.
And she stood up, and she shook her head, and I didn't want to scare her, right? So I didn't come to her. I stayed by the sidewalk. And then what happened was she shook her head, and now again, she's been in the desert. It's almost 7 days.
So she probably it looks different,
right? And she had nothing to eat out. There's no water in that basin where she is. And so she got up, and as slow as you can imagine, one step at a time, she walked to me.
Oh.
And it took her literally probably 45 seconds to walk 20 feet. And again, I didn't want to scare her. I dropped to my knees.
Oh my God, I'm crying.
I know, it's too much. And
I'm so happy you found her.
I had my favorite jacket on. I put my arm around her. I laid down on the floor and just started crying like you wouldn't believe.
Steve, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and those are the pictures that, were posted.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Of course, then, after crying for a minute, and then I think back to my law enforcement, background kicked in. I said, we need to get her to hospital immediately.
Yeah.
So we go on Facebook. My friend Mark owns a veterinary clinic here. And so we text Mark through Facebook and said, hey, where's your clinic? We need to meet right away. And we ended up sending the wrong Mark an email, went to another Mark. My friend I served with in the Army 20 years ago. So that didn't work, right? So thankfully, Bryce and Jen came through again, contacted them. Where's the nearest vet? They found it. It was 6 miles away or whatever. We drove immediately there. She was seen instantly, and all she had was one little laceration on her inner thigh.
Amazing,
and
considering the
she was fully dehydrated. Her tongue was, was brittle.
Oh, bless her.
But then this is something too I want to share with people to understand that the vet is not going to let you stay with your animal.
Oh.
That really set me off, because right here.
You want to be with
so,
her.
Not just for my own sake, but she wanted to be with me, right?
Yeah.
So I lost my girl. It took a week. We found her. And now they want to separate me from her.
And she's distressed because she's like, oh, I'm back with you, but now I'm not with you.
Yeah, and then I have to leave her for 12 hours. Not cool at all.
And you worry about, now you're worrying about her health.
Yeah.
I've got her back, now worry about her health.
Right, because then, too, she's going to freak out because I know what she went through. She was devastated. Now she loses me again.
Yeah.
That's not the right time. And we know this from rape cases, that we don't separate women like that. If they latch onto an officer or to a nurse or whatever, we allow them to stay with them as long as that victim wants, right?
That makes sense.
And I'm not saying, again, the vets are incredible, don't get me wrong.
Oh, yes.
But I think it's something we should really consider within the medical community, that when a dog is just lost for a week or more, I think that parent or that owner should be with them for a while.
Even if they're sleeping on the floor, it doesn't matter.
Exactly. And I understand there's reasons for them, but in an ICU situation, patients, family can stay together for a long time.
Yeah.
So that's just something that I hope.
Something to consider, most definitely. Yeah. Listen, hold that thought there. We've got all of 7 minutes left. We need to run the last bunch of our commercials, and we'll be right back because we're going to wrap up this story. As I say, it could go on so much longer. Steve's very good on them, because so is Lexi. We're going to be right back. You're listening to Vegas Rock Dog Radio, and I'm Sam, your host, the Queen of Rock and Roll Dogs.
Hello, this is Jim and Sam from Vegas Rock Dog.
We've been styling dogs and their humans since 2005. And no matter what size your dog is, we can give your best friend the rock and roll look that will make them stand out from the rest of the pack.
Vegas Rock Dog has a fantastic collection of tank tops, dresses, sweaters, jackets, cuffs, and ties for your dog.
And for you, the owner, there are rock and roll tanks and tees and great accessories. Wearing Vegas Rock Dog makes you look and feel like a rock star. And that's why everyone loves our gear, including Hollywood celebrities.
So grab your leash and go to VegasRockDog.com or find us on Twitter and Facebook at Vegas Rock Dog.
Dogs ID Tagged, the happening place for hand-stamped ID tags for your pets. All pet tags are custom-made in gorgeous metals like brass and copper. Not only are they beautiful, they're also essential to identifying your pet. You can shop at our website, dogsidtagged.com, and treat your pet to a unique tag of its own. Dogs ID Tagged, the happening place for pet tags. Visit dogsidtagged.com.
At Carl's Jr., not only do we make you happy with our delicious charbroiled burgers, but we also make your dogs happy. When you come through our drive-thru with your furry friend, we'll offer your dog a treat. If not, always ask for one. We love to see their smiling faces. Our website, carlsjroflasvegas.com, has a treat for its customers, too, with free coupons anytime, so be sure to visit us regularly. Carl's Jr. is a proud and active supporter of dog adoption in our community. You can find us on Twitter at carlsjrofvegas.
This is Vegas Rock Dog Radio. Vegas Rock Dog Radio. The phone lines are open at 702-483-4444. Now let's bring back the host. Here is the rock and roll queen of dogs, Sam.
And we're right back. You're listening to Vegas Rock Dog Radio. Me, Sam, your host, the queen of rock and roll dogs. We've got, all of 5 minutes before we wrap this baby up.
So we got to finish the story.
We've got 4. Hang on. Before we finish, we got 5. We speak fast, Steve. Just to tell you about a quick event that's happening tomorrow. Tivoli World. Tivoli World. No, Tivoli World is where I used to work in Spain. Tivoli Village. Hot Diggity Dogs and Rescue, my favorite rescue that I've worked with for 10 years, are going to be over there for adoptions tomorrow, 11 to 2, and my rescue of the week is Windy's Ranch, and we're going to have I think we're going to have a pig coming on the show on that day. Big thank you to our sponsors, of course, because this is how the show happens every single week. And we're going to wrap up with Steve. How fast can you speak, Steve? We've got 3 minutes.
Pretty fast.
He used to have a radio show. He knows how it goes. Is that 3 minutes? Oh, yeah, that's a long time in radio.
It's about 2 breaths and we're done.
2 breaths. Yeah. So tell us about Senator Ensign with his new facility then.
Yeah, so we're really excited that Lexi and I go and I take Lexi to Boca Park for the veterinarian. And so Senator Ensign is the actual veterinarian there. It's a beautiful facility, great services. I got to tell you, I was impressed. Typically, when you have any type of intake with the initial doctor, especially a veterinarian, it's 5 or 10 minutes.
Boom, in and out, yeah.
He literally books 45 minutes to an hour.
Oh, I'm impressed.
To get to know you, the family, your methodology, your attitude, your philosophy towards food.
That's
amazing.
Training,
everything, yeah. So
just the food thing alone, you know, a lot of veterinarians don't have tons of education in that area,
right,
and they don't really talk to you about it much anyway.
Highly recommend, and I'm sure he would come on your show. And
I would love to have him come on the show.
Yeah.
I've driven past the place. It is luxurious.
It's beautiful, yeah.
I can see that Lexi now has A on her collar.
Yeah, so she has a tracker, so the tag tracking system.
Yeah.
So obviously this came out of her being gone.
Yeah.
And so it's an incredible application that I would also highly recommend.
Yeah, I think so. I think if you're a person that also likes to walk your dog in the desert and you go on hikes and stuff like that, you need one of these for sure, because they can get away from you in a heartbeat.
They can.
I mean, they get spooked and boom, before you know it, they've run off. But I'm really glad she's going to be so famous that she already is.
She is. And I also want to share the cutest thing about Lexi. So she is the most loyal and her heart is so huge.
She looks at you and smiles, and it's amazing.
It is. And so, Grania bought her this rabbit, and this is what's so incredible. Lexi has over 50 toys, at least in our home, if not more. And whenever someone comes to the house that has given her a toy, She goes and finds that toy. Grania can vouch for this, and brings that person the toy they bought them.
She has a connection.
Yeah.
She just, oh my.
Her heart is bigger than anyone I've ever met.
I'm just thrilled that you came on the show today.
You're the best.
I really am. And we're going to do stuff together. I just know
I'm afraid of that. Underwear modeling now. We're going to be making a reality show.
Yeah, when you get an email from you or a text that says, what are you doing on Tuesday? Don't ever ask.
And a movie, too? I'm just not going to answer any more emails.
I've got people into all kinds of fun situations. Well, I want to say a big thank you. In one word, what does Lexi mean to you, Steve?
Love.
Love. There you go. It's as simple as that.
I love you.
Big thank you to Chris, my producer, for making the show fabulous. His new haircut is beautiful. He's very handsome. In fact, a lot of people saw Chris's picture and were like, ooh, who's he? I'm like, oh, too late, married, got kids. So big thank you to Grania, to Steve, to Lexi for being on the show.
Thank you,
You've been listening to Vegas Rock Dog Radio, where it's all about pets, people, and pop culture. I am your host, Sam, the queen of rock and roll dogs. And always remember, kiss your pets good morning and good night, and get them a tracker for their collar so they don't disappear, because no one needs heartbreak in their life. I want you to all have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Views and opinions expressed on this program were those of the hosts and guests and did not necessarily reflect those of Vegas All Net Radio, its affiliates, or its parent company.